Criswell, who is the FEMA administrator. And now, Ms. Criswell, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what FEMA does for hurricanes and emergency preparedness. What can you guys play a role in helping the community?
Hope, it's a great question. As we are now in hurricane season and approaching the peak of hurricane season, we have a few roles that we can play. One, we make sure that our staff is ready, and we make sure that our plans are in place, that we're ready to support state and locals if they have the need. But the other thing, and the biggest thing that we do, is we work really closely with our state and locals to help prepare the community, to help prepare individuals, make their plan, make a go bag, understand what their risks are. And it's that partnership between us and the communities through the state and locals that makes a big difference.
So then you work a lot with the areas that are planned to be impacted or expected to be impacted, and FEMA works with letting them know what is the plan of action. So do you guys direct emergency management?
So FEMA is in support of state and local jurisdictions. It's the state and local jurisdictions, the cities, the local municipalities, sometimes the counties, that are developing their own plans to respond to a disaster. And in this case, we're talking about hurricanes. And then they work with us to make sure we understand what their capabilities are and where they might need help if something does happen.
Okay, so that leaves everybody in their own areas to figure out what is best for their communities, and then you guys can oversee it and try and pull everybody together, am I right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we oversee it. We're just part of the process,
Okay.
right? We just want to help make sure that they've got the tools, the resources that they need. But the other thing that we do to help individuals like you is we have a website called Ready.Gov, and you can go there and get information about how to make your own plan, your own individual plan, so you are prepared and your family's prepared.
So then you work with preparedness. What is, in your experience, what do you think that FEMA really pushes for people to be prepared about? Because obviously, if there's a hurricane coming your way, typically you'd want to evacuate. You want to get out of the immediate area that's going to be under the hurricane. But if people are going to stay, what do you think is the most important thing that people need to think about to prepare?
Well, I think the biggest thing is they need to understand what their risk is, where they live as it relates to the risk. Not everybody would need to evacuate. And in most jurisdictions, they will have defined evacuation zones. So the most important thing is to learn which evacuation zone you might live in, and then listen to your local officials. So if they tell you to evacuate, that you do listen to them and you do evacuate. If you don't need to evacuate, then it's making the plan and making that go bag. And again, there's a lot of resources on our website about what to put in a go bag, what you should think about for your plan, and don't forget your pets. Pets are such a big part of our families, and we want to make sure that we've got a plan for them as well.
So in the event that people stay at home and they don't have to evacuate, what do you think that if stores are all closed down and they can't get gas to go anywhere or to power generators or anything like that, what do you think is the best way to prepare for a situation where you're going to be stuck? You're going to have a home plan. Do you guys do specific staying at home, a home plan?
Yeah, it's, again, everybody's personal situation is going to be really unique to themselves, right? They may have certain things that they need to prepare for and plan for. But that's why it's important just to make that plan and go through the checklist of the things that you need to support you and your family, whether that is having 3 days worth of food or water or medicines, or if it's charging up all of your portable devices before the storm hits in case the power goes out. Another big piece that people need to know, especially if they're going to stay home and are directed to stay home and not evacuate, is how are you going to communicate with your loved ones that are outside of the area? We see a lot that the cell towers might be overwhelmed in the beginning in the local area, but sometimes it's communicating outside, having a family member that's not in that area that we can all reach out to let them know that we're safe, or using other social media where they have the Mark Your Safe option, right? So you can let your family know that you're okay, and that's a really big piece.
So communications, we are ham radio operators. And I know that in the past, in various situations, that has played a huge role in getting those communications out to other communities, whether it's to let people know they're okay, like you said, or even to bring more supplies in. Have you ever, in your experience, have you ever had a situation where that was the only communication?
You know, I have responded to a lot of different disasters across the country, and whether it was the only piece of communication or not, our ham radio operators are such a tremendous help to us, right? They help get the message out. They help us communicate. They help us relay communications, you know, to the public, to each other. You know, the more we can start to amplify what's going on, give people information that they need to know, I think the role that the ham radio operators play is so important, and I'm so grateful that they're always there available to help us out.
So in the event that communities or families, entire cities, in the event that these people need to be able to wait it out, what do you think they should be doing about power? What do you think is the most reliable way in your experience?
You know, there's a number of things that people can do, again, and it depends on the location that they live. But having a redundant type of power source is something that people could consider, right? There's generators, there's solar power. You know, there's places around the country that individuals have wind power, right? There's all these different types of alternative power sources that, again, everybody's situation is a little bit different and a little bit unique, and so they need to see what works for them and see what they can put in place to help them get through and weather the time until help can get to them.
So my sisters and I actually have a business where we make solar power, battery packs, and generators, solar generators, basically. And so we have found that to be extremely useful in a situation where you are secluded, because the gasoline trucks can't get in, and that would mean that you need to be able to run power else or otherwise. But that was also a great point that I haven't actually thought about is wind, you said. So having something where you can go out and test, does a generator, is that going to work in the end if I don't have gas? Or do I need to be considering about a solar grid? Or, like you said, some places have wind. So that's something that you really need to prepare for before and just go out there and plan for your own personal needs.
Well, and I think the other part, as you mentioned, is testing it, right? Know how to use it. Don't wait to try to learn how to use it after the disaster happens. You know, if you're going to come up with a alternative power source for you and your family, then practice, play with it. Make sure you know how it operates. Make sure you know what the little nuances might be. So when you need to use it, you're ready to go.
Even something like you mentioned earlier, a go bag. You need to be able to know that the food that you have in it, you need to know that you can actually prepare it, that you know how to, that you'll actually be able to survive on it. So things that you need to do beforehand. So that's about it for preparing beforehand to be ready for the aftermath. Thank you so much for being with us and for teaching us and our viewers all about your job at FEMA and how you guys can help prepare people to be ready for a disaster, because hurricane season is just starting. Who knows what will happen during these next few months.
Well, Hope, I really appreciate you bringing me on today to talk to everybody, because it is such an important part of what we do. The more prepared we can be ahead of time, the better off we're going to be if a disaster hits us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Hope.